This is King Noble Black Supremacy, and with this particular video I want to talk about the internal matrix versus the external matrix. Now there's a difference. The internal matrix is your personal experiences. They exist within the external matrix, and there is a connection or a point where they merge. But the external matrix could go on, and you could have a radical shift in your internal matrix. And let me break this down. A lot of times I talk about the collapse of the matrix, the end of the matrix. And when I talk about that, a lot of you all look to the news, and you want to see what's going on in the world. You want to see if there's going to be a chemical warfare, or if they're going to drop a nuke, or is there another world war. You want to see how the economic system has collapsed, how the world outside of you is falling apart when I talk about the matrix collapsing. And every now and then you get a taste of that with natural catastrophes, floods, tornadoes, powerful storms, where the whole grid is just messed up and the matrix is discombobulated. So every now and then you do experience some external glitches or collapses within the matrix, especially when that bridge that recently got burnt up in Atlanta, I-85, I think it was Marietta, that was an external matrix collapse for many. For others, it was external who didn't have that direct experience. So when I say internal, I'm talking about your direct experience, and external is stuff that you are aware of that has radically shifted. So when I talk about the collapse of the matrix, you're looking outside your window, you're watching TV, you're waiting on this system to fall, that which maintains it to no longer be able to do so. And you see anarchy, stuff that preppers is stocking their shelves for. You see all-out warfare. You see a race war that gets out of control. There's a lot of things you see when I talk about the external matrix collapsing. While that is there, and that could happen at any moment, that's true. But I think sometimes what that makes us overlook is the possibility or the potential of our internal matrix collapsing. A lot of people that you think have lost their mind, their internal matrix has collapsed. They've had some experiences that transcend the program, the major script that is written by the matrix. They can no longer maintain the script. And they wasn't prepared for their internal matrix to collapse. Because people don't believe that that can happen. They're not even aware that this is something that can happen. So when I talk about your matrix collapsing, I'm also talking about your personal matrix. That you could find yourself waking up and nothing makes sense. Or every experience that you have is senseless, meaningless, or beyond what you fathom could happen, or way outside of the box of your expectations, completely inconsistent, that your paradigm can shift radically at any moment and your internal matrix can collapse. And if you are not at a higher level of consciousness at that point, then you will collapse with your internal matrix. Because there's you, there's the internal matrix. That's the program that you believe yourself to be, that you maintain through your thoughts, ideas, and perceptions. And then there's the external matrix, which is a system of white supremacy and the collective consciousness and the consensus reality through education, programming, television, policing, whatever, social services. But then there's your internal matrix, where you can have a radical shift in your experience that there's no program that can read it. There's no program that could interpret it. Meaning the language of your experience goes beyond the code that you have. Some of them call those spiritual experiences or spiritual intervention or otherly experiences. They might say UFO abductions or paranormal experiences. These are just experiences that the code, the program that's written as you, in you, cannot read these experiences. It goes beyond the language that's encoded within your consciousness. Let me take you back to the movie Matrix to help you understand this, that Neo was going up against more than one enemy. There was multiple villains or themes in the movie Matrix. You had Mr. Smith, who wanted to destroy the Matrix, and by destroying the Matrix, he would kill everybody in the Matrix. He would only kill them because they believed that they exist in the Matrix. And the identity of who they are was in the Matrix. So if you kill the Matrix, then they die in the Matrix and they die in reality. Neo went beyond that illusion. He went beyond the illusion of dying within or outside of the Matrix. But he still wanted to save the Matrix because he didn't want these people to die before they could wake up to realize that they were just being sucked on by the Matrix, that their consciousness and their energy was fueling the Matrix, that their energy and their being was fueling an artificial reality, a dream world. So if Mr. Smith destroyed that, he would destroy everybody in it. But then you also had a movie of going beyond the Matrix. You had a part of the movie of going beyond the Matrix within yourself. That means truly waking up and rising beyond the artificial world. Neo did two things. He tried to save the Matrix to give everybody that's asleep a chance to wake up at some point without dying in the Matrix. And he also woke up to his higher potential beyond the Matrix, within and outside of the Matrix. So he had a shift in his internal Matrix, as well as he was aware of the external Matrix. See, the internal Matrix, you could take with you wherever you go. You could leave the city, you could go off the grid, you can go in the middle of the forest. You can go to another country and just get in the middle of the damn jungle, but your internal Matrix is going with you. These ideas that you have about reality, what it is, this program that is your sense of consistency about what things are and what things mean and what's possible and what's not possible, and what you believe, and how these beliefs continue to generate a sense of knowing of reality that has nothing to do with what's actually going on, but it regenerates your perceptual framework. So it allows you to have the consistent experiences, even if how you experience in reality doesn't represent the truth of what is actually there. But this program will regenerate the same experiences for you until something happens so far out of the code of the program where you're forced to see that there is something beyond the Matrix. And a lot of people have that experience. That experience is there for a lot of people. So I'm talking about your personal Matrix collapsing. Some people will not have an opportunity for the external Matrix to collapse, for them to wake up or get a chance to be driven to awaken. Their internal Matrix can collapse at any moment. You got oxygen, and then you got your lungs. Somebody could cut off your oxygen and kill you, which is the external Matrix, or your lungs could collapse on their own. This is a fact. Your internal Matrix is like your lungs. The external Matrix is like the oxygen outside of you. Everybody, some people, and many of you are headed for internal Matrix collapses. Black supremacy is the technology to prepare you to go beyond your internal Matrix collapses. Some of you already had an internal Matrix collapse and you didn't even know what it is. You thought it was a nervous breakdown or you were stressed out, but you had an internal matrix collapse. So black supremacy is internal matrix repair from a transcendental perspective. Not only repair you, but build you up greater. This is part 1. I'll come back in part 2. Join my website, www.kingnobleuncensored.com. Donate, don't hate.